All right, good morning, everyone. Hopefully, the full review will be recorded. If not, you got the beginning. Exam day coming up. We're gonna go through modules 1 through 8. I know we did a little bit of 9, but I'll keep it to 1 through 8, and then we'll pick up 9 when we're educating them on the tax stuff next time, because we barely scratched the surface of that. What to expect: you will have multiple choice, short answer, and calculation. The calculation is gonna be pretty much exactly like the handout, the one we did in class, where we figured out liquidity ratio, back end, front end, and consumer debt. With back end basically including front end consumer debt. The short answer, we'll cover the content we've done. The idea is you need to be able to, because this is a writing core class, explain what it is you're doing. I'll have you maybe define something and then apply it. So there's going to be very little where you're just, I know what this word means. It'll be, I know what this word means, and here's how I would apply it in a counseling situation. All right, so what is financial counseling? Our goal: we're trying to get our clients to spread their wings and fly. We want them to be independent. We want them to solve this question, this issue, on their own the next time that they face it. All of our goals are going to be collaborative with them. We've got some guidance for them. There's obviously going to be some sort of issues that we want to prioritize over others. That may not be what the client thinks. So we want to collaborate, we want to get together, we want to think through what's going to be best for them. That snowball method, or do we want to avalanche it all? Our 7 steps, and each of these have lots of things going on in them. Preparing for the appointment. Maybe you had an intake form to answer some of those things. When you did your client counselor role plays, you had to learn a lot of stuff all at once because we don't have that process set up with an intake form. You could have them do that online, where they list some of their assets, they list their issues, so you've already got an idea of what it is they're coming to see you for. You can do some research, and maybe you realize, well, this is not an issue where I've got the expertise. I'm going to do an internal referral to Susie down the hall because she's really good at student loans. Or this is an external referral because I can't help you with drug addiction, or something that maybe we work in conjunction. Maybe we can refer them externally to somebody that can help them with addiction issues, and we can help them with financial issues. So maybe we're doing both at the same time. So preparing for the appointment, I'm getting some information prior, I am researching, I'm making sure I'm prepared to meet the client, be there fully present, and help them with whatever their issues are. Building that relationship of trust. What are the 2 types of trust we've talked about? Jewel? So if you can't remember the names, think, how would you want a client to trust you? What would you want them to come in thinking that you can do? Trust you with money? Okay. So trust that you're going to act in their best interest. That would be benevolence. So benevolent trust is this idea that the client believes that I am going to work to the best of my abilities to help them with their issues. I'm going to respect their privacy, all these other things. And benevolent trust is where you get additional people coming in. What else might they want from me? We're talking about the types of trust that a client needs to have in the counselor. She got the benevolent trust, where they're going to trust that I'm acting in their best interest. Kind of like the fiduciary from yesterday that we were talking about. Well, I guess y'all were in the ethics session. But what else? Why is a client coming to me? Why is the client coming to me? We're going to build up to that trust.
To get help.
Okay, so they want to get help, so why come to me for that help? Because they think I can help them. Okay. Because they think I have the capacity, the education, the training, the knowledge that is needed to help them with their financial situation. They're coming to a financial counselor because they trust that I know what I'm doing with those financial things. Identifying issues and gathering information. We talked about those 3 things that we need from every client, so that's what we're getting here. We may have already got some of that with our intake form, but we're gonna dig a little deeper. We're gonna talk to the client. We've established our trust, and we're gonna find out what their net worth is, so we know what assets maybe we can borrow from, what liabilities we need to prioritize in paying off or not, depending on what they are. We need to know their cash flows, so the dollars coming in, dollars coming out. We're getting 3 things from each of those net worth and cash flows. Assets, liabilities, and then the surplus or deficit on net worth. And with cash flows, I want the dollars coming in, the dollars going out, and is there a surplus or deficit in that? With their issues, we need to prioritize what is most important. Are they going to lose the roof over their head? That's a priority. Are they going to be harassed by a creditor? Well, if they're going to lose the roof over their head or be harassed by a creditor, I'd rather have a roof over head while they're yelling at me or trying to get me to pay something. So setting goals, collaborative. You saw on the last slide, we're working together with the client. We want some buy-in into whatever the issue or issues might be, and we want some buy-in to the different solutions we come up with. We're going to brainstorm, maybe come up with some ridiculous things, but we're not going to judge any of those bad ones. We're going to come up with some bad ones, and then after we have all of them together, we figure out what works best for that client. Take into account their, what were those 4 things that I put on a chart? You remember, Catherine?
About goals.
About assets a client might have, assets and liabilities that are not financial.
One of them was people, like resources.
Yeah, so our network. So we've got resources and gaps with these 4 things. People would be the loved ones that maybe you were able to stay with your mom and not have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the symposium yesterday. So that's a resource. A gap would be maybe you don't have somebody in Birmingham where you can hang out before going. The others were knowledge, skills, and abilities. I think I've got another slide on that. So figuring out all the things that we have to work with, and get them to, after prioritizing the issues, address those in the order we need to address them. So we created an action plan. We know what our different goals are, and we are going to attack those in the order, maybe more than one at once, but we're prioritizing which ones we definitely need to address right now. So that action plan, again, collaborative, and then we put it in place. We have, okay, client, you need to go out and here's these 3 things you need to do. Here's 2 things I'm gonna do. We're gonna meet back on this date and see where we're at. Maybe we're tracking budgeting, maybe we're seeing what's going on with this court case, whatever the thing might be that the client needs. Based on what happens, so let's say they had that eviction notice and we were able to successfully contest that we made one of those payments. Your bank just bought out another bank and we made it to that one and it just hasn't been reported yet, so we're not actually behind. Or maybe there's a typo on there, or maybe the eviction from my rented place as opposed to a mortgage where I was buying the house was because for some reason the landlord is against me. I turned him down for a date, they were retaliating. I said, neighbors are partying too loud. I said, there's mold in my apartment, whatever the thing might be where the landlord is trying to get me out so that they can do something else. Maybe that's some other things. Maybe the notice wasn't proper. It wasn't given in the timeline needed in the jurisdiction where I'm at. Whatever those things are. So we evaluate what's happening. Did we do well? Did we do bad? Did the client forget that they were supposed to put together all these documents you needed to help them figure out if they could sublease their apartment or what the interest rates were. So we evaluate, we readjust, okay, get these, we'll figure out this, and we go from there. By the end, we've solved that problem. Either 100% or they're on track. They've steadily been making payments towards this debt. They've ended the eviction notice. They've exercised that right to cure. We're able to get them back in the good graces of the landlord, whatever the thing is. So we're either moving on to another issue or ending the relationship. The goal of all of our financial counseling things is to ultimately end the relationship. We want them to be independent, spread their wings and fly. I mentioned those three things: issues, cash flows, and net worth. With net worth, we have assets that are not just financial. Different types of financial professionals we've talked about here. You are all in a program that will allow you to sit for the CFP exam. By taking retirement planning, investments, insurance, all these other things where you are going to be able to handle comprehensive wealth management for a household. You can help them from just starting out to retirement, through retirement, and the idea of the financial planner is you are helping them for a lifetime, and potentially their children and grandchildren, and retaining them all as clients to help them with all these different issues. Financial counselors are different, where we're looking at a short-term engagement. We're trying to help them through a single issue or a handful of issues, but they're going to spread their wings and fly afterwards. So financial planner, I'm ideally keeping them forever. Financial counselor, I want them to be able to deal with that issue. I'm dealing with lots of different clients with different issues, different things going on, and I want them to sort of graduate, move on, and be able to deal with it themselves in the future. Coaches, now we're just working more at motivating clients, and recognize there's elements with all of these. Therapists, the emotional and psychological factors. We talked first class about some of your first money memories, and different clients are going to have different households. You're a unique group, even among a college campus, but you're unique compared to the general population that you're going to college, and not only are you going to college, but you are studying courses on financial planning. So looking around your classmates, you all are more likely to be savers than students in other majors, even on this campus, your other peers. We talked about some of how your parents talked about budget at the kitchen table, and you had a good idea of what was going on with the dollars in the household, where others maybe didn't know that. You all talked about your first money memory. Most of you did something to earn money, and maybe there's some additional hustle going on there where you were going beyond just chores or birthday money, but you were taking on jobs or creating your own opportunities to make money. All of that impacts who you are. That's what the financial therapist would be dealing with, but they're more dealing with people that have problems with that. Like I'm talking about, like, my issue is spending money. So like I grew up with not a lot of money, and now it takes me longer. I'll put more research into, like, is this the best one? And at a certain point, like, well, I just spent an hour to save $5. My time would have better spent to just buy that thing. So that's a thing that I'm getting better at. But recognizing those different things that are influencing how you spend dollars today. Your clients are going to go through their own things. So overlap with all these. Financial counselor, you're trying to get them out the door, but you are recognizing, respecting, empathizing with the psychological things in the background. You are dealing with all the same dollars and things like that that a financial planner might, just for a shorter term, and you're motivating them to pay off this debt, to do whatever. You're cheerleading every great move they do. Just for walking in your office, thumbs up, way to go, you took a great first step. And everything they do well. There's our types of trust. So Jewel got the benevolence. They trust that I'm acting with their best interests. I am somebody that wants to help them. I'm not trying to make money off them. I mean, I am getting paid for my services somehow, but I'm not trying to take advantage of their situation. I'm doing my best to help them. The other one was that I know what I'm doing, so the credibility. We can help with the credibility. This is going to come up in a second with the way our office is set up. So Leo, what could I have in my office that if you were to walk into my office would help you immediately trust that I know what I'm doing?
You can have, I remember you saying making it like more comfortable, like with a couch.
No, I do want it to be comfortable. I want them to feel this warm, welcoming office space. But what can I put to show my credibility?
Like your degrees or your certification.
Yeah. So if I've got a bachelor's degree or whatever degree, I can have that on the wall. It helps if it's in financial planning, or I've got that certificate, accredited financial counselor. Something that shows that I have some expertise in financial things. And maybe multiple things, whatever I've got going that makes me look professional. What else can I do? So a lot of y'all went to the symposium yesterday, awesome, and you look very different today. What's different?
Oh, dress.
Yeah, so just wear a collared shirt, look like a professional, don't look like you know, we're just digging ditches or something. Somebody that they can trust with their dollars. So just dressing professionally, add some credibility to what you're doing. Having those degrees on the wall, add some credibility. So you're building that all the time. You're gonna lose all your credibility if you have no idea what you're talking about once they start asking you questions and getting into something. But they can start out just with the things on your wall, the way your office is set up, to start out thinking, okay, this person probably knows what they're doing. It's not till they start talking to you and get into some of the issues that they're gonna fully add, okay, this is a credible person. They know how to deal with student loans, they know how to deal with evictions, they know how to deal with whatever my issues are financially. And we recognize our limitations. I don't have the expertise, the ability to help somebody with an addiction. I can empathize with it, but that's not my field. You might be able to wear multiple caps where you are helping them with addiction issues or marital counseling or something else along with the financial. In which case, great, that's going to add additional trust because they can share more things with you than they might share with me. So if I'm not an expert in financial counseling or addiction and they have those issues, it would be great if they could bring them up, but there's only so much, like, sorry man, I can empathize with it, but I'm not gonna be able to help them overcome an addiction. Somebody else might, and if you do have multiple things you can do, great, that's gonna add to how much they trust you, that connection. Clients are gonna come in with different levels of how they're comfortable with dollars. So different things here, financial knowledge. I know what a budget is. I know that the credit card company is charging me money. And we can increase that, like now I know the percent, and now I know how time value of money works, and how all this compounding is costing me so much. A lot of people might understand that, okay, credit cards charge me interest in order to borrow, but they may not realize how big of an impact it is to just pay the minimum payment every month. We did calculations in class, time value of money, and figured out this is how much this is gonna cost. And we'll go more in depth in that later when we talk about car loans and mortgages, but just little differences in interest rate will make a big difference. Now, financial literacy, now they can apply it where, okay, I'm gonna pay this one off faster than the other because it's got a higher interest rate. I understand how these interest rates are working against me or for me if I am getting it in a savings account instead of a checking account. Just understanding that the checking account that was paying 0 interest and the savings account was paying 4% interest, if I don't need those dollars, maybe I want to put it in the savings account. Or if the savings account allows me to write 6 checks a month, and that's pretty much all I'm writing a month, great, I can put it in a savings account and earn interest as opposed to that checking account. So now I'm able to apply it. Financial capability, now I have access to different financial services. So I just gave the example of the banked. We talked about banked versus unbanked, and I told you about a neighbor I had who was paying $2, $3 for every paycheck because he didn't trust banks. He didn't want to open a bank account. Capability, I have access to these financial services. You may have a client that can't get a credit card. because they have terrible credit. We've got ways that we can help them increase their financial capability with a secured credit card, a small loan, somebody else co-signing on a loan. Things we'll get into more in depth in the credit section, but capability, access to it, and then financial wellness. Hey, I'm good with all my things. My present needs are met. I'm saving for retirement. I feel that I have the freedom to make some different choices because of the dollars I've saved, the things I'm doing with my stuff. Talk about those goals we're setting for clients, or setting with clients, I should say, and this idea of SMART goals. I want it to be very specific. This is exactly the amount I want to save. So I want to save $5,000. We got specific. What else do I need to have in there? Wait, why are we going that way? Let's go over here. Yeah.
Measurable.
Okay, measurable. So specific 10,000, measurable 10,000 still works for that, but well, let's look at the A and the R. What are those?
Achievable.
Achievable. So
Reasonable.
achievable and reasonable, and those kind of go hand in hand because it's possible. Let's say I said $1 billion. It's possible. It's achievable. It could happen if I buy like a couple lottery tickets over my time bound was in 6 months, and I win the lottery every other month, and they end up being a total of $1 billion. It's achievable, but it's not reasonable that I'm gonna win the lottery. So achievable and reasonable. So let's say our $5,000 in 6 months, that's achievable, measurable. Do I have the 10,000 at the end of the time period? And it's reasonable that I can get it, depending on people's different financial situations. Maybe 5,000 would or would not be reasonable, but reasonable to their specific situation. Leo's talking about our office setup. We wanted it warm, welcoming. We want the client to be able to get there easily, so they're not having to take 5 trains and walk a mile. Maybe we're near public transportation. Maybe there's plenty of parking. Hopefully there's not loud noises outside regularly. Can't always control that. Maybe there's going to be some street construction. But we want a nice, quiet, safe space where they feel comfortable sharing things that they may not want lots of people to know. There's some shame in, I'm in debt. I'm thinking about declaring bankruptcy. Debt collectors are calling me. So they want to, going back to that trust that this information is secure and private with you. You're not going to tell the whole world. You're not going to blab about it over lunch with your friends. It's going to be something you keep confidential. They want the office to have that same feel. I'm not in like a bunch of cubicles where I'm hearing the people next to me and they're hearing me. I want a private office, no crazy distractions. I want my diplomas on the wall. I want things that are gonna help the client feel comfortable to share. I don't think any of y'all went to the Savant trip last year. Did you? Okay, so they had different setups where a client that maybe wanted a more formal structure could come into an office type space, and there's a desk, there's a chair, and that's what made them most comfortable. Other setups were, here is a couch and a couple of small chairs, more homey, more like a living room, a professional living room, but something where they're more likely to feel comfortable sharing. You may not have the capability within your office space to have multiple options, but try to do something that's going to make the clients feel comfortable sharing these things with you. Y'all were doing awesome on eye contact when we did the role play. There are 3 types of financial counseling, and I noticed there's some overlap too. So remedial is going to be the most common. Most of your clients are going to come with, I had this emergency situation. I just got an eviction notice. What do I do? Productive financial counseling, I am trying to save for my kids' college, a 529 plan, something like that. Preventive, and I just got this huge news. I lost my job, but it's fine. I'm gonna get another job. I've got these dollars saved away. And how do I avoid this in the future? So they're not in a bad situation. They've already got another job lined up, so they're not really stressing about it. They're just like, I could have dealt with this situation better. How do I do that? So you're helping them create an emergency fund. You're helping them plan for a potential layoff some other time, or maybe they just forgot they had some credit card and now they, after months of not paying it, have this issue, or their identity was stolen and somebody's racked up some debt in their name, but other than that, they're financially secure. So we're gonna help them kind of clean their financial house and save for the future. So a combination of that remedial, immediate need and looking towards the future. But most of your clients will be in that remedial category. So remedial, right now, things are happening that I need help with. Productive, I'm all right. What else can I do with these things? And then preventive, a combination of. Okay, I mentioned these referrals, internal, external. I'm not gonna be an expert on every single thing in this financial world. Maybe there's somebody else in my office that can help them. Maybe I'm next door to an amazing addiction center and I can do an external referral to them. So internal is within my organization, external is outside of my organization. And I want the clients to get the best help that I can provide, and if I can't, the best person that I can send them to provide that help. Recognizing a client's learning style. Some of this they're going to cue you to based on their language. So an auditory learner, they want to listen more. They want to hear the words. They aren't necessarily writing down notes or trying to see something on paper. They want to just absorb it that way. If somebody's talking about how they listen to lots of podcasts or something, they are probably an auditory learner, or they're better at that. I'm not an auditory learner. I don't do podcasts. If I go to like a news site and it turns into a video, I'll find another thing that just has it written out. I would rather read a transcript of a video than watch the video for news. Visual learning, so that's what I am. I would rather actually see the thing, and there's gonna be combinations of, so I wanna read it, I wanna write with it, so I've got some kinesthetic too, but I want to, with kinesthetic, actively engage with it. I want to see how this math works. I want to do some different calculations to see how a different interest rate would impact the future value or whatever it is that I'm doing. Visual learners might say something like, they'll throw some sort of visual description in something. Like, it looks like I am sinking into quicksand with all these debts. Something that makes you think, okay, well maybe they are more visual than auditory. They're going to want to take notes. They're going to see things in writing. The kinesthetic might want to go on to that powerpay.org that we did in class and see how paying different debts. They might want to play with, what if I had 200 to this one? What if I paid this one off first instead of that one? And then figure out what's going to work best for them and track it as they go. Some things we won't have control over, and the economic cycle is one that, as an individual consumer or a household, yeah, you might be buying, selling, you might have a job or not, you might be running the manufacturing facility, but big picture, most of us aren't having huge impacts on the economy. Somebody like Musk or Bezos could, if they made some crazy drastic move, they could shift some things on what's going on in the economy. But for the most part, they're acting in the interest of their shareholders and themselves to make money with this business. They're not doing crazy things. They're going to make massive shifts in the economy in the next month. So business cycle, all these things happening. we saw that visually, and I liked it kind of going up. A lot of the visuals will go like that. I like it going like this because it's generally going up. So we got the expansion when we're growing, the peak, then we drop down in that contraction, and trough is the bottom. We can't really time the top and the bottom. We've got a pretty good idea of when it's going up, but we don't know if it's gonna stop now or keep going. We don't know when we're at the peak, same thing when it's going down. We've got a general idea of, okay, inflation is high, jobs are not looking great, we're kind of going downwards, but we don't know when that's gonna end. And it's not always this clean. Just like we saw with stocks and investments, there could be some like little wiggles throughout these different things. It's not gonna be perfectly clean. Inflation and interest rates. Inflation, we can track. We saw that consumer price index. We saw what $1 would buy when you were born compared to what $1 would buy today. And then we took it further back to when I was born and what $1 would buy today. So inflation eats away at our purchasing power. We're not able to buy as much of that basket of groceries. And we can dig into that inflation on specific things that are going to impact your client or just kind of whatever you're interested in. Could be the housing market, could be I just want to track the price of beef over the last however long period, and we can track all of that through the Bureau of Labor Statistics and their consumer price index. We can look at housing costs in different areas. We'll get into that with employment considerations. But I've kind of mentioned, like $100,000 in New York City is very different than $100,000 in Little Rock, Arkansas. Rate changes we just saw. So when the Fed decides to change the rate up or down, they just dropped it. How is that going to impact all the dollars in the market? Again, not things that you can control, but things that you can sometimes have a good idea if it's going to happen. The rate changes were officially announced, but we had a pretty good idea that they were probably going to drop. We just didn't know exactly how much. Opportunity cost and marginal utility. The example we gave with the opportunity cost was, hey, there was a fun football game or something. Was it a football game I used in class? Sometimes it's like a rock concert, something. You went to something instead of studying for the exam, and there's that opportunity cost. You could have done better. The value of the next best alternative when you make a decision. In financial things, I could, instead of buying that concert ticket, I could have put it in a savings account or a Roth IRA or something else. We're always acting, we get into this maximizing value and utility idea, we're always acting in our own best interests. It might be, I really want to hang out with my friends a little bit later tonight. I know I'm going to spend a little bit more money, but I'm going to do it because that's what's going to make me happy right now. Now tomorrow I might be like, man, I really wish I could buy more groceries, but I spent all my money last night having fun with my friends. But in the moment, I was making the best decision for myself. I'm always trying to maximize my own utility. So we are maybe not completely informed, maybe not looking towards the future. And if all we thought about was 50 years from now, we would never enjoy today's life because we would just be saving every single money and only eating rice and beans. So there's some trade-off. You want to be able to enjoy some of today, but also save for tomorrow. And you want to be in a position where you can do both and feel comfortable. That's that financial well-being that we saw earlier. Marginal utility, the additional satisfaction gaining from consuming one more unit. So think, have you ever gone to a pizza buffet? First slice, first plate, great, right? How about the second plate? Still good? Third plate? Not quite as good. Fourth plate? Now I'm getting kind of sick and full. Fifth plate? Well, maybe I make some salad in there and try to go back for a 6th pizza. But after a while, like, this isn't good. You don't want any more of it. So additional satisfaction means consuming one more unit of a good or service. That changes if I just consume a bunch of pizza. At a certain point, like, this is too much pizza, I'm getting sick. Always try to maximize value. So what did I give up? I didn't go to this concert. What did I gain? I was able to pay tuition for spring semester. So that I would probably call a good trade-off. But if it's something else, like I could have gone to this concert, or I could have studied for an exam. I already have an A in the class. Maybe I do want to take advantage of this Taylor Swift concert that I'll never ever get to see again. This is my one shot. So sometimes you do make that trade-off. Always trying to maximize your own utility. With that idea of maximizing utility, we don't always know what the future holds, and y'all know now the power of compounding. So that $1,000 concert ticket, if I put it in a Roth IRA, in 5 years and 10 years, would be worth a lot more. Depending on our returns, hopefully we did make money on it. But understanding that gives you an additional tool in making those decisions. Your client may not understand the opportunity cost of some of the decisions they're making, and you can help educate them on this is what would happen instead. If instead of buying your Cheetos every day on the way home from work or the whatever, if instead you started putting that towards this credit card, here's how much money that could save you. Debt repayment strategies, we talked about the snowball and avalanche. And the avalanche, dollars and cents, is going to be the best way. If I have 5 different debts and one of them is 25% and the rest are all under 10, attacking that 25% debt and trying to pay it down first is going to, dollars and cents, save me the most money. So the dollars and cents best strategy is avalanche. Go towards the highest interest rate, pay that one off, then the next one. And I'm making regular payments on all 5 of them, but I'm putting my extra $20 a month towards the highest interest rate until that one's paid off. And then I go to the next highest interest rate, and then the next, and the next. The snowball method, we're thinking psychology. We're thinking the client's background of, I've never paid off a debt before, or I did it once and it took me forever, it's really hard. So maybe, hey, let's check it out. There's this $1,000 debt, everything else is $10,000 plus. Let's attack this $1,000 debt first. And you can build a great strategy. You're going to pay it off in 4 months, and you're going to feel really good about yourself. You're going to know that, hey, it is possible to save this amount. So they didn't save as much dollars and cents, but this got them to pay off a debt. The avalanche method for that same client that didn't have the confidence, they might chip away at a larger debt, a $40,000 debt, and it still looks like they're getting nowhere on it. So 4 months later, instead of having paid off a debt, they've reduced it a little bit, but it still seems like nothing's changed in their life. They still have these 5 debts. So for that client, I want to go with the smallest debt first, even though dollars and cents, that's not the best strategy. And maybe I switch it after they have that confidence. Awesome, I paid off that $5,000 debt. There's 4 left. Hey, check this out. Let's go to PowerPay and see if instead of putting that, and now we've got extra money. So now it's not just the $20 extra a month. It's the $20 plus the minimum payment on that $1,000 debt. I've got this much. So what if we put that towards your highest interest rate? How would that compare to going after the next smallest debt? And kind of gauge where the client's at. Do they think they can do it? Is that high interest rate the largest debt? Maybe we do another snowball. Maybe we work ourselves up to avalanche. Or maybe we just stay snowball the entire time. Just depends on what the client is going to best respond to. So that match their goals and behavior. Prioritizing debt, you'll have to do for all clients. We want to stay alive. We want to keep a roof over their head. We want to keep food on their plate. If somebody is calling them middle of the night at work, all these other things, these debt harassment things that we'll talk about how we can get them out of later, that's causing additional stress. They might be more inclined to pay off that unsecured debt, where that debt collector has nothing that they can take from them, versus my bank, that they can take my home from me because I have a mortgage. So if I don't pay my mortgage and instead pay this squeaky wheel, this aggressively squeaky wheel that's trying to get me to pay some unsecured debt, well, okay, I've got that noise out of my ear, out of my life, but now the mortgage is past due, the bank's coming at me, and I'm gonna be homeless. So helping them prioritize what is important. We had our secured and unsecured debts. Secured, they can take something from me. There is collateral for that specific loan. Some unsecured debts could become secured if they go to court and get an order. If it's the government and I owe back taxes, I owe something that allows them to now take my Social Security, take money from my bank account, garnish my wages, take away my license to practice law. Government has crazy powers to do all these things, but the government also has these things set up where you can fill out a form and get a forbearance on a student loan, just showing that you're broke. Different things that allow you to take a timeout with the government that are automatic. Same thing with our income taxes owed. We can fill out a form, we can work out a plan with them. They have strategies in place, unlike some of our other people that we might owe money, or entities we might owe money. Hospitals, easier to negotiate, and if anything, I can declare bankruptcy at some point and get rid of a lot of those unsecured debts. The hospital is gonna come back and break my leg because they fixed my broken leg, and they're like, well, that's what you paid for, you didn't pay for it, so we're gonna break it back. They're not gonna come after you, they're just gonna heal you, and more likely, if you don't approach them, they're just gonna sell off that debt to one of those debt collectors. Again, unsecured debt versus secure debt, and recognizing that government, and if somebody goes to court, they're gonna maybe step up in the ladder of priority. Oops, sorry. FDIC and NCUA, we're looking at banks versus credit unions. Same idea, our dollars are secured by the government. We've got up to $250,000 per account. If I have a joint account, I can jump that up to $500. If I create different types of accounts, each individual account would have its own $250. If I go to another bank, so I want a checking account with one bank and a checking account with another bank, each one of those accounts, different institutions, has that $250,000 coverage. This isn't going to protect me from myself doing something stupid. At the symposium, a woman was talking about like romance scams, where a guy in Birmingham was about to give $600,000 in cash to someone that he thought was going to take it to some supposed woman that he had met online. He was a senior citizen, and they were taking advantage of that. Luckily, somebody at the bank caught it, reached out to the state organization that was able to coordinate a sting, and they caught, what did they say? It was like somebody from Thailand, like a Thai national living in California that had flown in, basically was gonna come to this guy's house, take a bag of money, and take it back to California to spend it however. So that's not gonna be covered. The FDIC doesn't say, well, you got scammed, we're gonna give you back your money. It's, you got scammed, that sucks. We'll try to track the person that stole your money, but we didn't do anything wrong. It's covering you from the bank going into bankruptcy itself. So if the bank runs out of money, the government's gonna make you whole. Credit card liability, you get your credit card stolen, you get your debit card stolen, even if you write the PIN number on the debit card, we've got some securities in place. Most of these companies are gonna be nicer. This is as mean as they can be. So we have 2 days, maximum $50 liability. As long as we report it to them, like it was stolen, and they may not even take your physical card. They could have just got your number. That was my thing with the military dog tags. I still had my credit card, but somebody had used it. They got the number somehow, and I think it was a sandwich place where their machine was down, and they took it in the back to like write down some numbers. But could have been legit, I don't know, somehow the numbers were taken, they've got the card swiper things that some convenience stores might have, or somebody's just stealing your information. So you can still physically have the card, but somebody uses it fraudulently. I'm covered as long as I report it within 2 days. Maximum I'm liable for is $50, and within 60 days, maximum liability of $500. After that, it's unlimited liability. I should have caught it before then. In both the military dog tag one and then the people opening up the Sam's Club, both times my bank called me and said, hey, is this your spending? Because it didn't match my spending behaviors. So they're looking out for you too, and really themselves, because if I report it, they're gonna have to pay whatever those dollars were. They'd have had to pay that $5,000, assuming I reported it in time. So that's the meanest they can be. They're usually gonna be nicer than that. I wanna say the dog tags, it happened like 3 days later, and they're like, nothing to me. They recognized it, they flagged it as a suspicious expense, and called me. I didn't have that conversation with them when they called. I was like, all right, I'll call you back. Always best practice, hang up and then call the bank directly to make sure you're actually talking to the bank and not somebody who, there never was that expense. They're just trying to get me to verify my identity so they can break into my account. So reporting quickly, great. Most banks, credit card companies are going to be nicer because they want your business, and they're going to be actively monitoring your accounts to make sure that, well, suddenly you're spending in Egypt. Is this actually you? So they're gonna look at some of those suspicious expenses. Running into the last few minutes, we had those different theories. You had a handout on that. I won't go too deep into those. The idea is we're communicating, we're trying to help the clients in those different ways. The trans-theoretical model of change, we were just placing them in a category. That's not gonna help us counsel them. Is figuring out where they are, if they're actually in that action phase. The case study, so I was gonna do a full on, basically the handout, we've only got a couple minutes. So that handout we did in class where you calculated somebody's net worth, look at their cash flows, and then we went into those different ratios. Be able to calculate a liquidity ratio, front end, back end, and consumer debt. Questions on what to expect? Front end ratio, back end ratio, consumer debt ratio, and their liquidity ratio. All right, let's see how much